Hi, everyone, and welcome back to summer school. Today, we have an awesome episode with an amazing guest who I'm so excited for, who actually shares the same first name as my future baby. So, this weekend, we had like two different baby showers for Georgia, my Georgia. And today, we are having Georgia from J and M Photos. Oh my gosh, J and M, Georgia and Micah. Yeah. Photo
GM Photo.
Visions. No, yes. Anyways, I've followed them online for so long. I feel like I've seen your Instagram videos for like such a long time. So Georgia's actually with us. So what are the odds? Literally baby shower and then Georgia is now on the podcast. Like this is going to be so fun. So Georgia's on with us. Georgia, tell everyone about yourself and Micah and your actual like Instagram handle and name since I butchered it. But tell us all the things.
Oh my gosh, no, you're fine. Well, it's fine because we actually just switched, so I can understand the confusion. Our company name is GM Visions, G for Georgia, Micah,
I was
M
going
for
crazy.
Micah. You're fine. It was me. But we just switched our Instagram handle to GM Photo and Film. So that is who we are. But my name is Georgia and my husband is Micah. We are Georgia and Micah McMaster. So it kind of gets confusing because I guess the GM could be like Georgia McMaster, but it's Georgia and Micah. So there's a lot of confusion going on there. But anywho, we are destination wedding and videographer or wedding photographers and videographers. We're kind of like 50-50. We are based in Charleston, South Carolina. So obviously we shoot around like the East Coast area or around Charleston, but we also do a lot of destination work as well. So that's kind of who we are. I've been doing it for 4 years now. Yeah, I'm like,
have you been doing
me.
it with Micah the whole time, or was it like you got him into it? Like, was he doing video before? Like,
no.
Did he get you into photo? How did this happen?
That's a good question. So no, we started the company. We actually started the company. We were actually talking about this the other day, and I'm like, I don't know why people didn't think we were psycho, but we started the company like maybe like 6 months into dating. I think like we were not engaged. No, like we were not even talking about getting married, and like we just were like, well, let's start this company because he had started like shooting with me. And we were, you start making money and you're like, okay, we got to make this thing like legit. Like we got to start paying taxes. So yeah, we started the company in 2020. But we originally, like I was doing photography at my college, just taking like senior photos. And then when we met, I was like, do you want to come to some senior sessions with me? And so he did. And then him being the guy that he is, he was like, he saw someone flying a drone. He was like, I'm going to buy a drone. So he buys the drone and starts like taking videos of it. And then 2020, COVID was crazy. So one of my like sorority sisters was getting married in her backyard and was like, hey, I know you take photos. Can you shoot my wedding? I was like, sure. So we shot the wedding and I just gave Micah my old Canon Rebel and was like, video this wedding. And so he made a wedding video with the Rebel.
That's crazy.
Yeah, and we posted it and like booked 2 more like weddings after that. And I was like, oh, okay. And then like once we just started posting and sharing our work, like we were like fully like not fully booked in 2021, but enough to where like by 2022 we were like running a full business. It was kind of wild. It was very fast.
I honestly think COVID expedited like a lot of people's careers. I know for people that have been in it a long time, it was hard, but same for me. I think I technically quit my job like right before COVID. I mean,
yeah,
when COVID hit, it was like, oh wow, why did I do this? I'm broke now.
Uh-huh.
But at the same time, it weirdly like I didn't have this exorbitant income before COVID that I felt bad when COVID hit. It was just like people were still wanting to get married and I wanted work. So if anything, it weirdly like grew my business like exponentially. Like COVID 100%. like crazy. And I feel like I've seen that happen with a lot of people, probably like you guys. Like it's crazy to look back on a season where people thought people weren't getting married, and that actually was the catalyst of a lot of people's careers that are now educating, which is crazy.
And now that you think, like, it truly was exponential. Like without COVID, I mean, maybe, but I was the same way. Like I graduated with like an occupational therapy assistant degree. I was supposed to work in like the healthcare field, but because of COVID, there was no job. And so I
Mm,
couldn't find a job for the longest time. And so I was just out here like babysitting. I had just graduated. I was just like kind of out here winging it and taking photos still, like graduation photos. And then, yeah, like getting asked to shoot that wedding was literally a game changer. And I didn't even know it because photography honestly gave me a job where I couldn't find a job because of COVID. So, yeah, totally agree.
that's crazy. So,
Yeah.
video wise, when did he start booking videos?
Oh,
Like
yeah.
just after that video?
Literally we just started booking it.
That's
Crazy.
crazy.
We did that one video and then we realized, okay, we can never shoot a video on a Rebel again. So we immediately upgraded to like I think I bought like a second 5D Mark IV or something, and he used one, I used the other, and then we booked another video. I think it was like someone we knew. They were like, "Hey, she wants to add video. Can y'all do it?" And I was like, "Yeah, sure." And then we started running a package. Gosh, I think it was like $2,000 for photo video we ran. And we like booked
For the
so
photo
much.
and the video, it was only
Yes.
$2,000. Oh
Yes.
gosh. Oh wow.
Yes. And I'm telling you, I mean, people were like, yeah, eating it up. And so I think it was like, it's crazy to think back that we did that, but I'm so glad that we did because I think we got so much experience in such a short amount of time, and we learned so many mistakes in such a short amount of time that we could fix them quicker than maybe if we didn't book as fast. You almost like can't learn those mistakes and can't fix those mistakes. So I don't know. I feel like we were able to kind of clean up a lot of stuff in a short amount of time to kind of get us to where we are today. We are now not charging $2,000 for photo and video, which thankfully, but it is kind of crazy that we did start that way.
Well, and back then it just feels like a lot to be booking anything, no matter the price.
Oh, exactly. And it's just like crazy that like, oh my gosh, like you want us? Like, okay, yeah, like we'll do it. And we just kind of learned along the way. So honestly, thankful to clients who gave us a shot, you know?
Have you experienced in any sort of way since you did start kind of shooting almost a friend's wedding, and then at that lower price range, you probably still were shooting probably a decent amount of people you knew.
Yeah.
Now you probably aren't really shooting a ton of people you know, most
Mm-hmm.
likely. I'm assuming this. So I don't know that of
Yeah.
you, but I know
Yeah.
for us, like the client demographic changing was kind of crazy. I feel like that probably happened for you as well. Like as your pricing increased, you probably did go from shooting, sorority sisters, friends to then almost probably outpricing them in some ways.
Yep.
And now you're probably shooting with mostly strangers, especially with the destination work. Did you experience that in any way?
Yeah. I mean, yeah, like I said, I feel like when anyone starts a business, like it is a lot of word of mouth, and people are like, "Oh, who took your photos? Oh, okay, yeah, I want her to do it." Or you meet people at like weddings, like bridesmaids or groomsmen, and then you build a relationship with them, and they're like, "Oh, yeah, like I want you to shoot my wedding." Like, and so that's kind of how that happened, and it was really cool, because then you would show up to weddings and see people that you would know, and you kind of feel like at home a little bit. But I will say, yeah, I mean, it definitely did start to change and I will say we moved. That was like really the biggest thing because we moved from Charlotte, North Carolina, where we started our business, to Charleston, almost 3 years ago. So that was really kind of the biggest change, because I will say people in Charleston, you can charge more. There's a bigger budget for photography. And so, um, Charleston was kind of like a place too where you're getting a lot of people from all over the country. I didn't even know it was like a
Yeah, it's like a
top destination.
destination. Yeah.
Yeah, I had no idea. I just like wanted to be near the beach, and I was like, "Oh, I'll move to Charleston, sure." It's not too far from Charlotte, still like driving distance. So we moved, and so it's cool because we get clients from all over now, which is kind of cool. So yeah, I feel like our clientele is just all over the place now, which is really nice. And again, we're kind of still building those relationships because then we're making friends with their bridal party or their people at their wedding, and so we're still kind of still getting that. It just looks a little bit different now.
Yeah. Yeah, I've
So
never touched on that in the podcast, but it's
yeah,
interesting as your business grows, you almost outprice some of your clientele,
uh-huh,
And
yeah,
that's always like an interesting pivot. But yeah, Charleston, what a great place to end up on accident
yeah,
as a wedding photographer.
wild. Like,
That's
had
perfect.
no idea. People were like, you just moved to like one of the number one spots, and I was like, no, I had no idea. I just knew I wanted to be at the beach, but I didn't want to be stuck in a beach town, and I knew Charleston kind of had everything, and yeah, the freaking rocks. So Yeah.
Man, that's amazing.
Yeah.
If I'm ever out there for a wedding, well, dang. Or
Yes. Oh
if
my
you're in
gosh.
LA, let me know.
Oh,
Um,
yes.
but so how did the Instagram like BTS journey start? I don't know if you even want to touch on this
Oh
much, but
man.
I'm
Yeah.
interested because I feel like you have such a specific lane in it of
Yeah.
like very much so like similar content and kind of behind the scenes. And I feel like are you using like meta glasses nowadays or what? But back in the day,
Yeah.
was it Micah just like getting you doing BTS? Like, how did that journey start for you?
Yes. Okay. So if there's something to know specifically about Micah, he's not on this podcast, but he is like a very much go-getter. He came from sports background. He's always like thinking ahead. He's always like, how can we be different? What can we do differently? Like his wheel, like it's always like running, running, running. And so, we were figuring out this Instagram thing a little bit. We were starting to post a lot of our video work and like, just, a lot of the trending sounds were trending where you would put a video and show photos and people were loving it. Or we would show like, I don't know, videos of our weddings and stuff. And so we were like, oh, like people are loving this. And I think the idea came because the people in like gym people started doing it. A lot of people in the gyms and gym content, they would put mics on themselves and work out. And we follow because we work out too. So we follow some like gym people. And so Micah was like, hey, like let's like mic you up one day during a shoot and I'll record you. And I'm like, okay, bet. Like that sounds cool. And so he did. And we started posting it and like people started loving it. And we were like, okay, people are really liking seeing kind of like this raw, like just me talking because you could actually hear me better. And he could just film me. And so, yeah, he just started filming me and it just kind of blew up, which was great and crazy and amazing all at once. And so it was cool too because it really kind of like segued into like us creating a course as well because we were like, oh, like we're actually kind of good at this thing. Like, and people are asking lots of questions about our process, how we talk to clients, how we pose clients, just kind of everything about it. And so it was really cool because it kind of gave us kind of a direction to head. Because we always knew we wanted to get into the education space and we always knew we would get there. We just didn't really necessarily know how. And so it was cool because it was just kind of like a pathway to get there. But no, it didn't start with the meta glasses. I just got the meta glasses. I'll use them occasionally. Sometimes I just forget. Like I just sometimes I always forget I have them, or to like click the record button on them. But they're really cool. I think there's definitely a time and place to use them. But I feel like everyone does behind the scenes now. Like I feel like it's all I
Yeah.
see now, which is really cool. I mean, I feel like that's the best way to showcase yourself as a photographer because like it's showing how you're posing people, and I think it makes clients feel really comfortable. And I think they can really start figuring out like who they can relate to a little bit better because not everyone is, not every client is going to connect with you like it would with someone else. So I think that's a really cool thing that I like seeing that a lot of people are doing it now. So
Yeah. So in the beginning, he has to juggle both recording you and getting video. Was it hard at all? Like
oh
him
yeah.
prioritizing trying to get content of you slash also he's being hired for video. Was it ever weird?
Yeah.
Did you ever feel like it was weird on like a client's end? Or do you feel like your clients, because it did well on your social media, were just like into it?
Yeah, so I will say though he started doing the behind the scenes a lot at engagement sessions when we were just doing photo, so I would just be shooting. And then yeah, any of the weddings that we had, photo and video, there was no way. There was no way we could
Mm,
get behind the scenes because it was just impossible. Which is why I did get the meta glasses because I was like, okay, well, if he can't record me, I can at least record something with my meta glasses. We did hire a few people to come and like come to weddings with us to get behind the scenes a few times. Um, but yeah, I mean, at first, I'll be honest, I didn't even really think about it. I think we just kind of asked like, hey, are you cool if we like do some videos? And everyone was like, yeah, like that's fine, like sure. Um, and then I think they also liked seeing themselves on Instagram too. Like we had one, and they're now like our best friends, so I can like talk about it. But we had one video. It was like I I had seen it, and so I did it. It was like where the photographer gets behind the guy when they're holding hands, and you go into a circle and
oh
get. I
yeah.
don't know if you've seen it, where you get
Yeah.
like the picture of like the girl. Anyway, I posted it, and I think it got like 38 million views or something. It was
Wow.
it was nuts. It was absolutely nuts. And I mean, not that having that many views is always a good thing. But it was just like so funny because they're now our best friends and we talk about it and they get, you know, they talk about how they're famous all the time. But
I mean, that's a lot of views
yeah, it was nuts. But
in the
yeah, I don't
wedding
know.
space.
Yeah, it was like that was an engagement session in Charleston. But I think like once we started posting it, like you said, more and more clients started seeing that that was just kind of like our thing. So it doesn't necessarily, I don't think people are like weirded out about it
Yeah.
anymore.
It
I
becomes something they
definitely,
expect, something they almost
exactly.
hire you for.
Exactly. And like I said, there's still like I said, not all clients are as like extroverted and like into it. And so I can kind of tell like I don't know, I can kind of tell if like it'll be more focused on me or if like they're down to do it. I don't know. I feel like it's just kind of like a ebb and flow kind of thing, if that makes sense. But I don't know. I feel like in this day and age though, I feel like most people are cool with it and
Yeah.
expect it, you know, and kind of
I've
want
talked
to
to
be.
people who are like BTS YouTuber kind of people, and I'm like, if you're always putting your things on YouTube, but it's like of them directing the wedding video, not of the wedding video. You know what I mean? We had
Yeah.
a person like that on, and he's like, "Oh yeah, I don't. The people that book me for weddings, like they just expect this. If anything, they're almost more excited for my YouTube video than they are for their wedding video." And I'm like, "Oh, that's so interesting. Once you build a brand around it, like the
Yeah.
people that are finding you, they're finding you normally from that kind of content. They're finding him from his
Exactly.
like BTS wedding content. They're finding you from your BTS wedding content. They almost want that content just as much as they want wedding photos. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Which is
Exact.
so weird
No.
reality, but whatever you put out there is what you're going to book. So, I
A
mean,
hundred
if
percent.
anything, if you enjoy it, as long as you enjoy doing it, then
Yeah.
that's like a great marketing tactic and thing to implement, you know?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. I still to this day kind of like sometimes I'll still ask because I do like I don't want to assume. I mean, it's technically in our contract. I changed it to make sure it had like, you know, videos a part of it. But I still just sometimes ask and Micah will laugh and he's like, how do you think they found us? And I'm like, you're right. And the clients will laugh too. They'll be like, yeah, like we found you because we watched other people. And I was like, okay, okay. I just want to make sure,
Yeah.
you know? So, but it's been good.
So fun.
Yeah.
The 38 million views.
Yeah.
How much did that like change your life overnight? I know when one of mine hit like 5 billion, it was like 40,000 followers overnight or something crazy.
I
And I
I
feel like
should
it
look
changed a
back.
lot for me. Like,
Yeah. See, the thing is though, it started hitting the wrong side of Instagram, if that makes
mm,
sense. I had a lot of people like I don't know, I had a lot of just like random people out there like telling me like
or like haters.
yes. And so I will say though, I mean for the most part, I think it just helped my number grow and helped Instagram kind of be like, okay, like this person is like, you know,
Consistent, doing it.
consistent. The consistency is honestly the key part because we were really consistent at that point too. So like while that one was blowing up, we also like were posting so then others would start to get, you know, you would start reaching in the like 100Ks and like that was exciting and like really I don't know if like when you have those they start to blow up, but I will say it was really like our behind the scenes videos that just really started taking off and those were where we were gaining a lot of like you would look at one post and you'd be like, "Oh, 3,000 followers from just one Instagram reel." And you're just like
Mm-hmm.
crazy. So yeah, I don't know. I don't know if it was necessarily that one, but I think when you do have something go viral, if you like harp on it and can
Almost build
um
off the traction.
build off of it, yeah. And I think as long as you what you did that was viral was necessarily in your like was in your niche, I think you're good because if you post something that went viral that you don't really talk about, it's kind of like people aren't going to like follow up with that, you know, but because it was
Yeah.
photography related, it was helpful.
Yeah. No, I've even like had conversations with people about like videos converting or not converting, like
Mhm.
having friends who have videos go mega viral but don't really gain anything from it.
Yep.
No followers, no inquiries, you know, nothing because maybe it's funny or it's like something about a wedding so people watch it but they don't care about the wedding photographer. Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
And so
Yes.
making sure it's things that are like if the goal is, you know, traction within your own platform, like it needs to be educational or provide them some sort of value that's bigger than, oh, that's a cool wedding trend because that doesn't actually
Yes.
do anything for your brand. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think when you said value, that's like the number one thing. And I mean, we can definitely like segue into social media if you're down because I think it's a big thing. But I think too, like think about like anyone who like you follow certain people because they give you value, whether it's through their work, through the tips that they're giving, through the content that they're providing. And I think sometimes if, you know, you don't go to their page, like, I don't know, if I would go to someone's page that I had seen on Instagram and I was like, oh, like that was really cool. And if I click their page, but there's nothing else to really provide me value, like I might not stick around for as long. And so I think that's why consistency is so important, because yeah, like that one you post might not do anything at this time, but you never know, like it might help people stick around because you're providing value here and there and every day. And so I don't know, I think it's just more so about the consistency at the end of the day. Like I think that's the biggest thing. And how valuable can I be in all spaces in my niche?
100%. It's like you could
Yeah,
have a trend go viral that's like funny, but if that doesn't provide any value to your audience, like
they're not going to stick around.
they might watch it, but they might not ever even make it to your profile. They might not even
Exactly.
realize you're a wedding photographer.
Yeah.
Or whatever industry you're in. I know
Yep.
I sometimes say, anyone can watch this. You could be any sort of creative entrepreneur, but whatever
Yeah.
industry you're in, if it's just some random trend, then yeah, like
Yep.
what value is it serving to them, and why would it make them want to engage with you more?
Yeah. Or keep them on your page or keep them to follow you. Because
Mm-hmm.
sometimes too, I think what happens is a lot of people, you'll get followers and then they'll realize like, oh, like I don't even know why I followed this person, like unfollow, or
Mm-hmm.
they never interact with you, or kind of just, you never show up on their algorithm again because they're not necessarily in your niche.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, one of mine that did go viral was not wedding or couples related. I mean, and maybe Jake was in it for like a second. It was literally self portraits, and
well,
it's
that's like
still
photography.
pinned. It's still photography, and it's still like a how to. But it was
Yeah.
so weird and creative that I think definitely, like, even though it caused a huge spike, then people are like, "Wait, who am I following? Why is this just like film wedding photos? Like, what is going on?" And so
Well,
I think
yeah.
it was good in the sense of like it carved me almost like a creative lane in the wedding space. Like people came to me wanting weird engagement photos or like unique sessions because they had
Yeah.
seen me do things like that with non-engagement things. So they knew I could do something different with their session. But it definitely was like an oddball. And I was like, oh yeah, then definitely like when I went like hardcore, less editorial and less weird and more like wedding or a little more luxury wedding, I definitely was like, yeah, I'm definitely like losing people, but that's fine. Like
Yeah.
I don't make money off posting photos of myself, so goodbye.
Exactly. Yeah. And I feel like too, I could see how like the self portraits too could probably tap into like a lot of like influencers who like are just out here, trying to learn how to take better pictures of themselves. And while it's like, yes, I can help you with that, but like, am I going to shoot your wedding? Are you even engaged? Are you even like planning a wedding? It's like, I don't know how much more I can help you other than like, great, I gave you a great tip. Like, you're welcome.
Yeah. But I mean, the one thing I did notice was like it did convert a lot when it did do well. And I do think it was because it was very valuable. It was very like how to. This is how I took this photo. And I'm like,
Very
man,
true.
how to's are fun. I'd maybe in this season of having nothing to do with myself for the next 6 months, I do some self portraits or something,
Yeah. Well, I mean,
maternity leave.
Yeah. How to's are awesome.
So fun. Well, okay. So I feel like the social media stuff kind of segues into what we're going to talk about a little bit. I'm saying they, even though it's just you technically on video, but I feel like, the company is you guys. Jake's very involved in my company. So us and our little husband helpers.
Yes.
They now have a posing course out. And did that stem from like, do you feel like sometimes the social media content that you ended up like just really going hard on kind of stemmed into this evolution of, oh, this could be our niche in the education space? Like, is that what helped kind of branch the posing course? Or tell us about your posing mentality and all of that.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. So, like I said, because we started kind of going hard on the behind the scenes and showing the results and really kind of showing like, it wasn't even just like, oh, here's a pose and here's the photo. It was like how I'm explaining things and directing clients. And we started just getting like tons of questions, like DMs of, oh my gosh, like how are you getting like the photos to do this? Or like, how are you getting your clients to feel so comfortable? And we were just getting so many questions. And so it kind of sparked an idea. We were like, wait, like we should just make a course on this thing to like actually help people. And I will say the more we like started thinking about the course and developing the course, it did evolve into something a lot bigger than I had maybe anticipated in the best way possible. Because when I first started, I was like, oh, like we'll just record a bunch of behind the scenes videos, have a little educational space, like education piece behind it, and that'll be it. Because I think people can learn a lot just from like watching full sessions. But then when we started actually thinking about posing, we were like, oh my gosh, like posing is so much more. And I actually learned so much about my own artwork creating the course, which was really cool and crazy all at once. But yeah, I mean, I think the biggest thing is when it comes to posing, we started learning that it's so much less about like our performance as a photographer. While that is very, very important, and like understanding your camera and understanding like how to properly shoot and expose and look for when you're looking for lighting, like those are all very important, and I think just happen naturally and you get better at the more you do it. We just started learning that like posing is so much more about the couple in front of us and about the relationship and the connectedness between us and kind of like all of us working together. It's so much more about that connection. And just like we wanted to come out with a course that actually taught how to get that connection and how to build that connection better with people. So yeah, I will say, yeah, it did stem from the behind the scenes and evolved into really our entire framework on literally what we do to this day. Like I still do it every day. It's what we taught in the course. So yeah, it all came from behind the scenes.
So in the course, it kind of evolved from, oh, let's just have some like full session behind the scenes so people can learn like how we operate, to almost more of like a client experience type of course.
100%. Yeah. Sorry. It like I said, at first we started off with just filming a bunch. I think we have 10 or 11 fully recorded behind the scenes sessions.
Wow.
All from different types of engagement sessions. And then I do have like a wedding segment. So it started off like we were essentially, okay, let's just start recording. So Micah would just film me like start to finish behind the scenes sessions. And then when we started thinking about the education part, we were like, oh my gosh, like actually it's so important to like talk about like business organization, because like without that, we actually weren't able to get to where we are today and get the clients we have today and be confident in our skill. And so I think one of the things we talk about, is business organization. And as like boring as that might sound, is actually so important. But even just like what I put on my inquiry form on my website, to then what I was emailing back, to then how I was following up, and then how I was scheduling consult calls, what I was talking about in consult calls, like how that all was so important. And I didn't even realize it until we like really, dove deep in. But like those things really set us up to then when we got to the session, I was like so comfortable and already kind of knew like what to expect going into the session, that then when I started shooting, it was like so easy. I was just like, oh yeah, like I already know your vibe, I already know what you're looking for. You already know like more about me. I know about you. Like I'm not just like meeting you for the first time. I feel like I know you. So then I don't know, the session just feels like a hangout, and then I can really just spend my time asking more questions about them, learning more about who they are, and then tailor things that just fit to them. So yeah, it just became this whole process, and called the art of posing.
That's crazy. If you had any tip for someone listening that might not be super into having the back end of their business that organized or like inquiry before the session, they just like book a session, take the money, shoot the session. They're not very involved. If you had a tip for someone to like really amp that up, if just a simple one, what would you say? If you could have someone just start somewhere, where would you say they should start?
Yeah. Oh my God, that's such a good question, because it's hard because I'm like, gosh, is this just like starting? Everything. I don't know if this is simple. I guess like the biggest thing is like if you don't have like some sort of CRM system, I would definitely get it. I use HoneyBook. I think a lot of us photographers use HoneyBook. I think it's definitely the best one out there, at least that I know of. I think there's others. I just don't know of any because I've never tried them.
There's like Dubsado, 17 Hats, Sprout Studio. I think those are the only ones off the top of my head.
Does Unscripted have one? Maybe they do.
Maybe. I don't know if I'd recommend. I mean, I don't know. I'm not gonna like
I'd,
not recommend something, but I don't know if I'd
I've
recommend
never
something.
used them.
I don't know. Who
I
knows?
think they do. I don't know. But anyway, I would recommend HoneyBook because I've used it. I think when you get something like that, it streamlines all of that into one funnel because
Mm-hmm.
you can set up your inquiry form through HoneyBook and just attach it to your website. You
Yes.
can set up email templates in HoneyBook. You can set up questionnaires in template or in HoneyBook. You can attach your consult calls in HoneyBook. And so I think that would be where I would start.
My
You
number
know,
one tip I tell people that I say is simple is to connect your contact form to your website because so many people
uh-huh.
don't even know to do that. And so
That's
their
so true.
contact form is just coming from Showit, Squarespace, whatever this like
Mm,
basic contact form is operating through. And then it's sending them their inquiries into Gmail. And then you're basically operating through Gmail, but then you're having this is people with CRMs. They're hand inputting it from Gmail into their client managing system. And I'm
wow.
just like, no, there's so much room for discrepancy. If you accidentally type that email in wrong in your
Or the
HoneyBook, that
date
clients
wrong.
never get it. Yeah,
Holy
don't
cow.
we don't want to do that. And what I
No.
like about having the contact form from HoneyBook embedded to the website is say your business evolves, say it ends up a little more corporate like ours is now, you're
Uh-huh.
educating or you're expanding your business, maybe you have an associate team. Just basically you're doing something more than just shooting and editing. I love that my paid clients having wedding or photo shoot experiences are in one area. And then
Uh-huh.
everything else, company emails, sponsorships, workshop stuff like education, everything else can be in my email and we can have it in its own organized place there.
Yes.
But as far as clients, like they basically have their own place to talk to me. And for me, that's my
Yes.
priority. Like the honeybook gets cleared every morning or more because those are like clients who need to talk to me super regularly. A company, I'm sorry, they can wait 3 days. Like it's okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
But then it also just helps me prioritize my clients. And
Yes.
when you do get an inquiry when it's linked to your website through HoneyBook, this is just like a HoneyBook sponsorship now. But
I know, right?
when you do get the inquiry, it not only puts it in your HoneyBook, it also sends you a email in Gmail. So you can kind of like fact check yourself to where you're not accidentally like missing an inquiry or like literally just maybe you accidentally marked it as read. You have it in two different places. So I will check
Yes.
our Gmail and Jake will check our HoneyBook and I'll be like, did you get back to this person? And he's like, yeah, it's
Yes.
cleared. Like it's kind of a good way to like make sure you never miss a client's response as well.
Yeah, dude, you sound literally just like me and Micah because that is literally us.
It's
Like,
like my favorite feature. I'm like, why don't
it's
people have their contact
amazing.
form embedded on their website? Like, I don't get it.
It's really easy. I think you just go into HoneyBook and you create the form and then you copy the code
Yeah,
and then you just put the
just
code
paste
in
it.
on wherever you're supposed to on your website, whatever
Yeah.
website you're using. But yeah, that's like how me and Micah work too. It's so nice to just like you said have the funnel in HoneyBook, and it's nice too because it's like everything you've ever talked to with a client is under one
Mm-hmm.
page, like under one I don't even know what
Like portal
tab, I guess,
almost.
portal, yeah, to where you can like if you can't remember what you talked about, you can just refer back to that portal and you're not trying to search your email a million times or your DMs and being like,
Yeah.
gosh, like what date did they say? And it's nice too because when you have them put in the date, like they're putting in the
It's
date
on
and
them.
HoneyBook immediately will be like put it on the calendar as like a tentative or it'll just go on the calendar and yeah, you're not having to take the responsibility of like, I plugged in the date wrong. Like I could not ever
Mm-hmm.
imagine doing that's like my biggest fear ever.
And I
But
like too, like HoneyBook sends like automated payment
yes.
emails because I don't love asking people for money. So when it's like, hey,
Yep.
your payment's due in 2 weeks, even
Yep.
though it looks like it's coming from me, I'm glad it's not because
It's
I would
not.
probably like not want to send that email. You know what I
And
mean?
it's very like professional and just like,
Yeah.
hi, this is your reminder. It's very professional.
Yes.
But I don't know if which you might know this now, but we use HoneyBook as well. We just connect our Zoom account to HoneyBook,
Mm.
and that's how people schedule our consult calls. But they have a HoneyBook note taker, and instead of me and like what we would used to do on consult calls is Micah would like
Literally
have a
write
computer
notes.
up. You don't have to do that anymore. We were on a call one day and then we got an email that says your notes are ready, and I was like, what notes? It typed up and a completely organized notes of exactly what we talked about. It has an exact transcript now of what you talked about. So it's amazing. I was shell shocked because now, like, like you talk to so many clients and it's easy to kind of like forget like small little details of like, oh, like, was that client that we talked about that with? Or when you're planning an engagement session, you're like, oh, like, did they want the beach or did they want downtown? I can't quite remember. You can just go in Honeybook and pull it up and it'll have exactly what you talked about. And it's
Wow.
amazing.
That's
Yeah.
actually, I did not know that.
It's
I'm just
sick.
out
I
here
think,
typing my notes manually into the notes section in Honeybook still.
well, what do you use Zoom to?
I do use Zoom sometimes, but it just depends. We give the client the option of like FaceTime, Zoom, or a phone call. And
Got you.
so
Well, if you
I
do
didn't even know.
Zoom, yeah, if you connect Zoom with your Honeybook account, it'll immediately pull up, like when you pull up the Zoom call, a new almost like person will come on as like Honeybook note taker
I
or
love that.
GM's note taker, and you don't have to take a note. It's amazing.
That's
Yeah.
literally amazing. I wish I did that my last client call, but it was a phone call. But maybe I can
Yeah.
just convince them to do Zoom audio and not video or
Yeah.
something, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I was gonna say we just make everyone do Zoom. So but yeah, it's amazing. So I would definitely, I guess, yeah, biggest advice is get a CRM
Get a
system
client
and
managing system.
connect your inquiry form to Honeybook or whatever you're using.
Yes. I know. I'm like, it's such a simple first step, but like, first
It
step.
is.
Um, I actually also always link the Honeybook like referral discount thing in every show notes and
Yes.
blog of every episode just because I my business couldn't run without it. So for everyone listening, if you're
Yes.
like, "Oh, I need that," it's in it's in the description. It's in the show notes. It's in every single one of every episode. So go click it. I just link it because I'm like, I feel like at some point I talk about this in like a lot of episodes. So I was like, Jake, just start
Yeah.
putting it everywhere.
Yeah.
So yeah, we link it in most things. I think that was like the first thing I got when I started my business. And
Yep.
in it's not the cheapest thing to invest in when you're first starting and you're like scraping for pennies and you're like, I don't even want to pay for a Gmail. Like
Mm-hmm.
Honeybook definitely isn't the cheapest first thing to do. But my business would have been a hot mess if I didn't start first with a client managing system because a lot of people think they need to wait to have clients to then have all these systems because they're like, oh, I don't
Yes.
need it. My business isn't that advanced. Well, it's like, okay, at the point that you start getting all these clients, you're not going to get more clients because their experience is going to be horrible because you're going to be a
Yes.
disorganized mess. So get it
Yes.
in the beginning. The sooner, the better. Get yourself
Yeah.
organized. And if anything, it'll just help your business grow, you know?
Yeah. And it'll just like take so much pressure off of you that like you're not like you can now send all your clients to a place. Like if I get
Mm-hmm.
DMs, I'll be like, oh, like, can you just go fill out an inquiry form and I'll get back to you instead of feeling like you have to answer everyone in your DM
Yeah.
or everyone in your, I don't know, it's just nice to have one funnel. And then, like you said, you're not missing anything. You're not like, oh my gosh, did I get that date right? Or did I talk to that planner or whatever it is? But like, I guess the second advice too, with that being said, I think if you're someone out there who's like, okay, yeah, like I have a CRM system, like I check, like that's done. I think the biggest thing is to start setting up consult calls with absolutely everyone you're booking with, even if it's like a simple shoot and it doesn't have to be anything crazy. I think a lot of people think, and I know some people like work their business the way they do, and like, I'm not trying to like, I'm not downing anyone who doesn't do this, but I think a lot of people think like, oh, I only like get on calls with my wedding clients. But I also think like even like your engagement and couples sessions clients, I think even just like hopping on a quick call with them and it can be literally 15 minutes. But I think just saying like introducing yourself, knowing like who they are. So one, you're not just showing up to a shoot of like, I don't even know what this person looks like. She has no idea, or they don't know what I look like. But I think that really started changing the game for us, even with our engagement shoots, because like engagement shoots are where you can really start to learn and get creative and really kind of practice, like do some fun things because you have the time to do it. Like at weddings, you don't have like an hour and a half to 2 hours to just like do whatever you want to do.
Mm-hmm.
I think engagement shoots are really cool because you get to kind of practice and play around and really kind of figure out who you are as a creative. But with us having consult calls with every single person, like even for engagement sessions, like we would just ask them like, hey, like what's your vibe? And sometimes like clients don't know what they want. They just kind of see stuff on Instagram and they're like, oh, like I think we want to do this. But then maybe you're talking to them on the call, you're asking questions about who they are, and maybe you're figuring out like, hey guys, like I actually think like a beach session would work well for you guys. Y'all seem really chill,
Yeah.
y'all seem really like active, and I really think the beach would actually fit more for you. So just by having a call with them and just suggesting something that might actually work better for them, it's going to set you guys up so much better when you get to the shoot, because they're in an environment that they feel comfortable in. They're doing an activity that feels more comfortable to them, but you wouldn't have known that if they had just filled out an inquiry form and been like, yeah, I want to do it here. And then you're kind of at the shoot and you're like, wait, we probably should have done this like somewhere else. Or dang, like I could have maybe actually helped them with their outfits or whatever it is. That was just huge for us. Like we were like, we just stopped just signing contracts without meeting with people, and it was a game changer for us. So that would be another advice, I think.
Honestly, in my business, I think I'm more involved with engagement sessions than with weddings, because
Yeah.
with weddings, there's planners oftentimes with all of our weddings now.
Mm-hmm.
And so maybe I'm still involved in like a rough timeline and just like chit chat. But as far as like really anything else,
Yeah.
for at least 80% of our weddings, we're pretty hands off. We're just another hired vendor. But with engagement sessions, it's like their time to get fully creative and weird. And we
Yeah.
might talk for more than an hour. Like we might talk for a long time before an engagement
Yeah.
session to really like plan this really cool experience out. And I think I in some ways might like engagement sessions more than weddings.
Oh,
Well, I like
yeah.
them both for very different reasons because they're
Yeah.
such different experiences. Like
Yeah.
with engagement sessions, it's like our time to get really weird and creative and, like hang out and get dinner together and just like have fun. And with wedding days, obviously, it's like you're there to get creative, but you're also there like almost in a production sense, like to get
For
a
sure.
job definitely done. And so engagement sessions, I love. I can't imagine not
Yeah.
being super involved in them.
Yeah.
Um, I mean, I always tell people my favorite part is like to try and make it like a collaborative experience. Like if there is any sort of mood board being made, I tell them like, I want this to be you and me. Like if anything, you start it, I'll finish the
Yeah.
board. If there's
Yes.
like a rug that just is screaming some feeling you're feeling inside, like put the rug in the mood board. It doesn't have to be a photo of a couple, like I want to
Yeah.
know like how you feel about yourself. Are you romantic? Are you serious? Like what are you,
I love that. I love that so much.
So
Yeah.
yeah,
I
I
don't know.
love
I
engagement
just,
sessions.
me too. And I like, we've done a few mentorship, sessions, and just like kind of talking with like people maybe like in more of the beginning part of their career. And a lot of them have just like, yeah, they say they just send them the contract and book it and tell them like when and where to show up. And I'm like, yeah, like, cause I totally did that. Like when I started, because I didn't necessarily know and understand like how important it was to like get on a phone call and understand the vision. And when we started doing that, it was transformative, because like you said, you can learn so much even from like a mood board or like a Pinterest board, or even just like helping someone plan outfits too. Like just
Mm-hmm.
like suggest, like for instance, like we're in Charleston and a lot of people either, like I said, shoot at the beach or shoot downtown. And downtown's very like, you have these cute cobblestone streets, you have all this beautiful architecture. And so I usually just suggest like a little bit like, I don't know, dressier outfit, because sometimes
Mm-hmm.
people don't necessarily understand like those kind of go hand in hand. And I just always say like photos will turn out better. And so even just to kind of educate your client on like what to expect, and just can help them so much. But yeah, I love that. I actually love that idea of the mood board. I'm like, I might take that and have my clients like, I'm like, you don't even have to put like pictures of like people, just like what
Just what mood
describe,
do
like
you
just,
want?
yeah, like
Yeah.
describe what you want in a board. It can be
What are
anything.
you?
I love that. I
Because
love that.
I think that's one of the key too. I can think back to when I first started. It's like, yeah, let's meet at this park for like 30 minutes, when the sun's
Yeah.
going down. See you
Yeah.
there. But every couple is so different. And
Uh-huh.
you and Mike have probably been in front of other people's cameras as a
Yeah.
couple. I feel like when you're a couple and a wedding photographer, people ask you to be in front of their camera too a lot.
Yep.
And I feel like I learned a lot from Jake and I, even just being in front of the camera, of how we enjoy being posed. Like, I don't love being like really romantic. I do like being probably more serious. Like, I probably will never post a photo of myself kissing him. Like, it's just not us. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And so we attract clients like that sometimes too, slash
Yeah.
probably actually more so than clients that want to be really cute. Like, I think like literally almost like it, at least 3 of my last weddings were like I don't want to be cute. And I'm like, I got you. You know what I
It's
mean?
amazing.
And
Wait, that's
so, like, but you wouldn't know that if you don't ask. You know what I mean?
exactly. Or if, like you said, you don't show that about yourself. And like I said, I always say too, like as a photographer, we are here to serve clients. And so essentially, like, it's a collaborative thing. Clients want certain, aspects or whatever they want. But I also think too, like, there's a lot about who we are as photographers that plays such an important role
Mm-hmm.
into photography. And like you said, you kind of like doing kind of weird, creative, like maybe not as romantic stuff. And so, like, that's you, that's your style. And the more you put that out there, the more you're going to attract those same kind of people. Versus like me and Micah, when we're behind the camera, we're kind of playful, we're just kind of goofy. Like, I love
Yeah.
pictures of me laughing. Like, I'm more open to post a laughing picture of me versus me being like serious, because I'm not, I don't see myself as that way. And so, like, our work kind of says that too, because that's who I am as a photographer. And I think that's what's so cool about this industry. And I think it can almost kind of take some pressure off of us as photographers, is like, we don't necessarily have to collaborate and get along, not even get along, because it's not about getting along with people, but being like, I guess, vibing with all these, different people, when it's like, it's okay to kind of attract the same kind of people.
Yeah.
Because I feel like when you start to do that, it's one, you're becoming such good friends with the same type of people. And I think it just makes it great for everyone on both sides of the camera. And
Yeah.
yeah, I don't know. I think that's something we talk about in our course too, of just how important it is to really kind of find your style and being confident in who you are and being confident in what you want. And I think it can kind of help give us a vision for what we're going after. Like, if me, I go into shoots knowing like I want, like, maybe with some romantic shots, but I want playful shots. I want people showing that they're having a great time. I want to have shots of people genuinely like just like looking at each other and smiling, versus some people might go into a shoot being like, I want to do some like weird stuff, or I want to do, like, I want to show that, I don't know, some people are really romantic and
Mm-hmm.
almost kind of like cinematic. Like, people love that. Or you have people who, like I said, just, I don't know, I feel like there's just so many different styles. And I think when you can kind of find what fits you, then you're going to just start attracting
Well,
that
and you
at
get
the
to
same
know when you
time.
get to know your clients too, like you're willing to take those consult calls, you kind of know
Uh-huh.
what they are too. Like, I
Yep.
mean, maybe they want some serious because they want to feel edgy or something, but they're not that
Yes.
kind of person. Well, if you know that, then you can kind of do both, because clients don't, this, the way that it came in my head wouldn't sound as good out, but I was about to say, like, clients don't really know what they want. But
No,
I
sometimes
still
they
do
don't.
believe that, like, a lot of times, like, we are the expert and they are coming to us for that
Mhm.
experience of us being the person that's guiding them. And
Yeah.
so you need to remember that you're the expert, you're the professional. They
Yep.
aren't. And while it is their shoot and their story, you can't tell their story if you don't know it, you know?
Exactly. And you don't know that unless
You're
you're
willing to get
asking
to learn
questions.
it. Yeah.
You're willing to get to know people. Like, I always say this comparison. I think too, I think if we can start looking at it as like a consumer, we can maybe understand it a little bit better, as well as, like, I don't know, when like, I'm a girl, right? I go get my hair done, I get my nails done. And so, like, for instance, like when I was getting my hair, I just got my hair done like maybe a few months ago. I was looking for a specific service. And so I hopped on Instagram. I started looking up Charleston, like hair, whatever it was I was looking for. And I saw a few people pop up, and I was kind of stuck between these two girls that I found, because they were showing the process. They were, showing that how to do it and all this X, Y, and Z. And I ended up going with this one girl. And I don't know, I always say, like, I feel like as a consumer too, like, clients are looking for specific things. And I think when you can show that either with who you are or with your work, they're going to be more inclined to book with you. And like I said, that comes from, again, you're getting to know them, you're getting to know your couple, so then you can showcase that about yourself. And then again, it just will, I don't know, it's like kind of like a cycle, if that makes any kind of sense. I feel like I just kind of rambled on there. But I don't know, I feel like it's like this whole cycle that just kind of happens, that the more you put out, that, like, what you're trying to put out is just going to come right back to you,
Mm-hmm.
if that makes any sense.
Which also means don't put out the wrong stuff. Don't
Exactly.
like dilute
Don't
your
try to be
brand.
someone you're not
Yeah,
either.
don't
Like,
try to be
don't,
someone you're not.
yeah. And like, it's fine to try stuff. Like, it's a trial and error process too. But like, I think sometimes we can get caught up in comparison of like, well, this is working for that person, but I don't really know if I feel like passionate about necessarily that. And it's like, that's okay. Like, don't like just be you and like be confident in what you can do because there's people out there who want that. Like, not
Mhm.
everybody wants maybe that certain style, or not everybody wants another kind of style, but they're looking exactly for your style. And so I think if you can just kind of like narrow down and get really good at your style, then bet like that's dope. Like, that's your brand. So
Mhm.
yeah.
Man, well, outside of mindset client experience, if you had any tip to give someone on posing, like actually posing, what
Yeah.
would you say you would say? I'm not even going to like elaborate on that question because I want it to just be whatever comes to your mind.
Yeah. So that's great. And it's actually kind of funny because like I've never been someone who really, I never took pictures of myself. So like I never know how to pose either. Like, and every time I get behind a camera, I'm like, oh, like what do I do? I think like with posing and like being in the industry that we are, I think the biggest tip is like, one, don't focus so much on trying to memorize stuff and memorize like, oh, the slingshot or the drunk walk or X, Y, and Z. Like, while those things are can be super helpful and like have helped me so much, I think sometimes we put a lot of pressure on ourselves to try to memorize all these things so we can just spit out stuff, over and over and over again. And I think that kind of takes away from like the art of knowing people and the art of understanding people. Because like you said, everyone's different. But I think if you just slow down in your sessions and know that it's okay to like chat, take time getting to know people during sessions, like it's going to help so much because like I said, you'll start to learn like for instance, like I'll share this. I was posing a couple, gosh, maybe a few weeks ago. I had, we were doing a wedding. I didn't take their engagement photos, so like I was still kind of learning them and understanding like what was working for them and kind of who they were as a couple. And I like told him to like take the girl's hand and like give it a kiss on the hand, and he cringed, and I was like looked at him and I was like, yeah, I know you didn't like that, like we're not gonna do that again. And he like, we started laughing and made a joke out of it, but like just it's a trial and error too. Like, I saw that he didn't like that and I was like, okay, bet, like they're just not like maybe the most like romantic couple in that way, so like I'm gonna try something new and see if that works. And so I think it's just like learning people and trying things, being okay to like mess up, but observing what you do and how like that impacted them and how that made them feel, is like the most important thing, because then you
Mhm.
can kind of tailor what to do next to better serve them.
And I always think too, like knowing, I know at this point, we're at the point where we're probably not even thinking about our camera settings, but knowing your camera
No.
settings is so important because the
Yes.
last thing I'm thinking about, honestly, is probably my camera settings because it's just back of brain now. So if you're just
Uh-huh.
starting out, like make sure you can get those camera settings back of brain so that your brain has space to
To
think about how
mhm.
the client feels and observe how they're reacting to some of the posing you're doing, because I think
Yes.
the number one thing you need to be is just like aware. Like you need, but you can't be aware
Mhm.
if you're focused on the screen of your camera, you
That is
know?
so good. Yeah, that is, we talk about that too in our course, because that was one of the first things too, because you're right. Like, if you're going into sessions like not knowing your like, where should my ISO be? What should my aperture be at? What
Mm-hmm.
should my shutter be at? Where's the best lighting too? I think too is like
Mm-hmm. Lighting.
in learning how to work in different lighting scenarios, because you're always going to be faced, you're never going to be able to control what you're faced with. So yeah, like you nailed that on the head. Like, learning your camera, I always say like you want it to be your best friend. Like, you just want to be able to whip that thing out,
Mm-hmm.
not even think about it, because yeah, you want your all your focus to be on the couple. Also to observing the environment that you're in. I think sometimes we can get very narrow of looking straight ahead, but it's like, okay, can I shoot this wide? Can I
Yeah.
maybe go to the side and shoot through a bush? Or can I do a shutter drag here to bring some movement to the photos? Or can I maybe shoot from a lower perspective? Can I get higher? I think too, just moving our body, I think we can get kind of stagnant sometimes as photographers and just standing in one place. But if you start to move your body, the way you'll see stuff, it will just be insane. You'll be like, oh my gosh, like, wait, this looks so much better from this angle, or, X, Y, and Z. And it can give you so many different types of photos, even while doing the same pose. Um, that was something we started learning a lot, is like, you know, a lot of times too, a lot of people think you have to come up with all these different types of posing, but the thing is you can do the same thing over and over again, but how you're shooting it, like you can change how you're looking at it and how you're shooting it. Again, you can have people run and spin around. You can shoot it wide, you can shoot it up close, you can shoot it shutter drag. There's so many different ways you can document it, or like focusing on like small details, like maybe you have them do it, but this time you're focusing on their hands, or you're focusing on like their legs or something. Like there's just so
Mm-hmm.
many. That's like one of the biggest things too, I think, can be so helpful too when posing.
No, 100%. And slowing down, like you said, is so good. I think for people that are in the beginning of their careers, they feel the need to just constantly be saying a pose. And honestly,
Yeah.
on the client's perspective, it's not that enjoyable. Like clients need a minute to breathe as
Yeah.
well. You know, they might be nervous and you might think that you just need to occupy the space because the silence is weird.
Mm-hmm.
Silence is better than just, oh, do this, do this, do this. Okay, now do this. And then the client's like, do I even look good? Like,
Yes.
they can't feel confident because they probably think they look stupid because they've been moving so fast. They don't even have a
Yep.
moment to like collect themselves, you know?
And
So
then
practice stillness. Be okay with like awkward silence, you know?
yes, or like, and I even say too sometimes, like when you maybe do feel kind of like awkward, like just take the camera down. Like
Yeah.
just like I always like will sit there and just hold it or put it in my bag, and that's when I'll just like talk to them, ask them questions, or even look around and be like, oh, like hey, like let's move over here, because yeah, like you said, you know, you've been behind the camera, I've been behind the camera, and like it's tiring. Like I mean, and I even know kind of what to do. Like I even know what to
Yeah.
expect, and it's exhausting. So like it's nice to give your clients a break. To again, you're creating that experience. Like you want them to leave that session to be like, oh my gosh, like that was so fun. Like
Yes.
we just got to talk. Like I learned
Hang
so much
out.
about. Like you want them to like yeah, like they you want them to leave like feeling like they just like you're meeting a stranger. Like you want to talk. Like you're gonna ask questions when you meet strangers. You ask questions. You ask like you learn about each other. And so I think that's a thing too. Is like it's okay to ask questions and talk. Like I think we talk more now in our sessions than I do shoot,
Mm-hmm.
which is so funny. So
Yeah. Honestly, sometimes too, when you like put the camera down for a second, you're just like, hey, we're gonna like break for a minute. Like I need to think and you want my
yeah,
best artistry, therefore I need my brain needs a break, you need a break. They start doing something like cuddling or like holding each
yes.
other's hands and you're like, mm-hmm.
You're like that's
And
cute.
then literally like things can happen that actually are very natural to them. So
Yep.
that's fun too. A little hack. Like a lot of times people do cute things when you're just like in the waiting, or
Uh huh.
sometimes I do catch myself, my not toxic trait, but sometimes I do catch myself. I make a face where I'm like staring at my couple or client, you know, maybe it's not a couple, and I'm just like staring, like thinking of things. Like my brain's like analyzing like what I'm going to do next. And I'm like, if you see this face, this is a good thing. This means I'm thinking. Don't worry about yourself, you know? And when I say that, people just laugh. But honestly, just being open and communicating with your clients is
Mm-hmm.
so essential because, yeah, it would make people really uncomfortable if I'm just like staring at them and I'm like, but when they know that that is what I do when I'm like thinking of something really cool, like
Yeah.
then they
Yeah.
know that, okay, cool. Summer's like thinking of like some rad thing she's about to do. But
Yes.
it just becomes this like joke that I have this like bad thinking face. It's like people that have RBF, but it's just like
Yes.
me looking derpy. But and repeating
Yeah.
things. I have no shame in like
Yes.
repeating the same pose until I get it right or admitting
100%.
when something didn't work out. If I think
Yep.
open communication is like so key to just getting great photos and your clients having a good experience doing it, because it's
Yeah.
okay if a photo doesn't work out. But if you act like it was great and then you don't put it in the gallery, they might be like, hey, where's that
Wait.
image? But if you're just
Yeah.
like, hey, yeah, that was a bad idea, let's move on. They
Yeah,
laugh
like
and they're like, cool, okay, next.
yeah, and like you said, like it's letting them in on your process too, because I always say like the more they start to understand you as a photographer, how you roll as a photographer, they're gonna start picking up on that. And like honestly, by the end of our sessions, like they will just start doing the things that I probably like. It's almost like I'm about to say it out of my mouth, but they're doing it because they've learned me in that
Mm-hmm.
time frame, and like they've learned that like okay, like I will always add maybe this little movement to it, or whatever it is, like they're just automatically doing it because they're learning me as I'm learning them. And yeah, like you said, just being open, sharing their process. Like I said, I'll tell them a lot of times too. Like if I already know I want to shoot a wide angle, or if I want to get a shutter jack, I'll be like, hey guys, we're probably going to do this like 2 or 3, 5 times. I don't even know. So just get comfortable because we're going to do it a lot. And I'm going to try to do different things. And they're like, okay, cool. And then usually by like the 5th time, they've kind of mastered it. So then like usually you get like some of your best shots by then anyway. So yeah, I love that. Just explaining yourself and being open. So yeah.
Man,
nailed it.
Well, we've now chatted for almost an hour, and me and Georgia just like had a fun time getting to know each other before the podcast. So I did tell her I normally don't sit for more than like 45 minutes at this stage of pregnancy. So we're going to be wrapping this up for everyone listening, but I wanted to just ask for everyone that's currently listening, even though we'll have all of this linked in the show notes, description, blog, YouTube, everything, we're going to have all of your info listed. Tell everyone like, just if there's anything you want to tell them right now, now's your time. But after that, tell everyone where they can find you, website, social media. Tell them how to actually find the course you've been referencing. That way, if they want to find it, they can search it up if they're just like listening on their car drive. And then I'll have everything linked as well. But if you just want to hear their Instagram name again, like go ahead and tell everyone about, what y'all are up to. And maybe, tell everyone something you're really looking forward to in the winter.
Ooh, okay. I'm going to pull up my phone so I like want to make sure I'm saying my names right, because I have now 3 Instagram accounts. So our main one is GM Photo and Film. So that's like our main Instagram account. And then we also do have presets. So it's GM Presets, and then GM Education, which we just started, and we're going to just be posting more of our education stuff. So yeah, you can find all of the links honestly on our our GM Photo and Film page. If you click like all the links, everything will be linked. It takes you to our website, which is GM Visions Photography. But yeah, if you just go to our main Instagram page, you can find all of our links to everything. Our Art of Posing course is there. Our presets are there. We actually are launching a new preset pack in like 2 weeks. So I'm really excited about that. It's going to be our best pack yet. So I'm really excited. Just finalizing that now. But yeah, I mean, I guess like if I wanted to leave you with something is just like, I think the biggest thing is like, just, you got to grind, and, grinding is hard, but if you want and have like goals and dreams, like it is so possible. Like if you would have asked me 4 years ago, I'd be on a podcast with like another photographer and having a course and having presets, I would have literally laughed in your face and been like, yeah, right. Like you were insane and crazy to think that. But like so much can happen if you put your mind to something, and like it is so possible to make your dreams and whatever you want to come true if you just keep working, keep practicing, and just know that like it's going to get you there. So yeah, that's what I have.
And then what are you most excited for in the winter?
Oh yeah, I'm going to Finland.
Ooh,
for fun. Yes.
Oh my gosh, so fun.
Me and my husband, we're actually going with a couple who are now like our best friends, but we shot their wedding last December. I think it was last December or 2 Decembers ago. I can't remember, but we're going to go to Finland and see the Northern Lights and go to like Christmas Village and go on a dog sled ride. Yeah.
Stop it. Are you bringing a camera?
Oh yeah. I'll bring a camera to, I was like, part of me was like, no, I'm not bringing one. But I was like, okay, wait, this is going to be an epic landscape. Like I have to. And I want cute pics. So I'm going to have to just teach my friend how to take photos. It'll be fine. So
you'll have to make some sort of video of like them too, a little bit, just one BTS video.
I already told them, I was like, I'm doing a whole session with y'all out there in the snow, so like be prepared.
They were the people how to shoot the Northern Lights or something.
I think I'm gonna have to bring a tripod for it. And like I think the exposure is gonna have to be like,
but imagine couples photos with the Northern Lights.
I like silhouetted.
So good.
I'm really excited. So I'm really pumped for that. I'm glad to go on a trip like just for fun and not have to like shoot a wedding at a trip, and like can just travel light, like without all of our equipment, which is nice. So yeah, I'm pumped.
That'll be so fun. Oh my gosh. I'll be admiring from my home.
With your baby.
Doing nothing.
Oh wait, well, I don't know. I don't know if you'll have her yet.
When are you going?
it'll be we leave on Thanksgiving and we come back like December 5th or something. So
I
you'll be right
could,
there. You
but like
could.
also I could also not give birth till like January 1st. So like who knows?
Exactly.
Oh
Yeah.
gosh, man.
Thank
Well,
you
it's
so much
been
though.
so much fun having you on. For everyone listening, if you loved hearing Georgia, go check them out. And then also, I would love if you left a review or like rated the podcast on whatever that you are listening or watching this on. Wherever you are, it helps bring like more amazing guests like Georgia on the podcast. So go ahead and do that. And I can't wait to chat with all of you next week. Bye, guys.